There's an interesting reason for that, and that's because of the indictments. You know, after so many years of being told that institutions are corrupt, there is a sense that the institutions that are indicting Donald Trump for 91 felonies are also corrupt. And so it has changed the minds of some college-educated voters to say, okay, we're going to give Donald Trump a shot here because he's being victimized by these corrupt institutions. And so these are voters that he didn't have, that he has now.
The Republican nomination this year is well worth winning because of this. As we start the cycle, it's important to note the Democrats aren't doing any real business tonight, but the incumbent president of the United States, the Democrat Joe Biden, look at that, a 38% approval rating. That is historically weak. That's what this is about. This is the beginning of the process to win the White House. And the incumbent starts, long way to go, but starts in a historically weak place, which is why winning Iowa matters so much. And which is why, Aaron, as we go through this tonight, the biggest question is how strong is Trump? Are there any signs of vulnerability? That's what we'll be looking for when we start counting votes.
Tonight and yesterday.
Completely banked on this sort of Jack Smith, black swan, whatever you want to call it, strategy.
Yes. Yep.
And that at some point, some meteor was going to come from outer space and knock Donald Trump off the political stage, and these other candidates who had not alienated his base by going after him would reap the benefits.
Right.
And it just didn't happen, and it was a bad strategy.
When you put it that way, it sounds so absurd, and yet it's what happened.
It is what happened. It's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
But by the way, I think we may be seeing the greatest political comeback in modern political history tonight if Donald Trump does break 50. Because keep in mind, I know I don't need to say it for this table, but quadruply indicted, 91 felony counts, 2 impeachments against him, that in just 4 years, he is back to a place where he is dominating this caucus, very likely statistically, and is in first place in New Hampshire, the next contest. I mean, it's just remarkable what he has been able to do and how he's been able to shift voter sentiment back in his favor in such an unprecedented way.
Well, Donald Trump is winning independents. He's got 47%, more than doubling Haley's total at 20%. She's basically tied with Ramaswamy there at 19%, and DeSantis is pulling in 14% of the independents. Again, a small slice of the Republican caucus-going electorate. They're only 16%, but even Donald Trump is winning independents big.
Yeah. Absolutely dominant so far, David. Thanks so much. Let's check back in with Kate Baldwin in Ames, Iowa.
Well, first of all, when he walked in the room, the reaction was electric. Everybody, there may be people here for a lot of other candidates. There was genuine excitement.
That this really is a race between two incumbents for all intents and purposes in Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one of the most famous men on the entire planet, right? It makes sense that he has been the front runner all along. And I think what really has driven that dynamic is that no other candidate has made a convincing argument against him or shown the country that they can stand up and become or be a bigger deal than he is.
You know, it's so true. And what you said about the way that this room changed when he walked in and the people here realized that he was here, it's a reminder that one of the main reasons that people love him and people don't love him, but in this case, it's the people who love him, it's because of not just what he says, but how he makes them feel. The reason why he has been so incredibly successful with the people who are so incredibly stuck to him and would walk through fire for him. And I've met a lot of people like that here in Iowa. Not to say that he'll get everybody in this room. He won't. But the passion that he drives in people. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No.
And as long as he can stay, I mean, listen, just listen. Right? No other candidate gets this.
No, it's true.
CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the Iowa caucuses. CNN can make this projection based on his overwhelming lead in our entrance poll of Iowa caucus goers and some initial votes that are coming in. The former president pulling off a huge early victory in his bid to return to the White House. Trump easily defeating his top opponents, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, who are now in a high-stakes fight for second place.
I mean, we talk so much about this race for second, okay? But you also have to take a step back and be honest that this is really taking the wind out of your sails if you're Haley or DeSantis right now, right? I mean, this is 8:30. The doors opened 30 minutes ago, and you have a very clean call. Now, yes, there's still a fight for second, but that is not the kind of night that they had hoped they would have, even in a fight for second.
You know, if you look at the entrance polling we've done, if you look at the expected results here, this Republican Party wants to give Donald Trump one more shot to prove them all wrong, that everything was a witch hunt.
There's one significant demographic that Trump has a real advantage in, and it's called Republicans.
And two of the demographics in the entrance polls that I think are the most troubling for anybody not named Donald Trump is you have Donald Trump winning college caucus goers, you have Donald Trump winning independents. I mean, these are historically groups, I say historically, within the context of this race, that, should have gone to Nikki Haley. And here you see...
No, to your point, Audie, politics is the new religion, right? And so the narrative that's going to come out of here tonight, if Trump busts 50, he's at 51, 52, and, Haley and DeSantis are still in the middling and the teens, it's going to be overwhelming, right? The Trump ground game is going to be just continuing to chug along and eat up, delegates in all these states like Pac-Man. It's going to be amazing.
And just to give people some sense of historical context of this, for a non-incumbent president in the modern era, they've been holding caucuses in Iowa since literally the 1840s, but the modern era of caucuses, where Iowa goes first, started in the 1970s. The best performance of a non-incumbent president was George W. Bush in 2000, and he got 41%.
41%.
41%. So Donald Trump is beating that. Well, that's the general election.
Yeah, the Republican primary's not in here. Sorry, I didn't check to see how many old ones we had in here.
I'm very demanding.
Yeah, but that's
I know.
Good. No, it's good. I just want to see if we could actually show the numbers.
But this number, even if it's not 50%, it's still historically unprecedented.
If you're looking at college educated, non-college educated, Trump hugely wins the non-college, but does better than anybody else among college.
Yeah.
And much better than he himself did last time around.
Yeah.
What does that say?
I mean, he's going to make the argument that he's going to be the most electable, and that's actually could help him down the line in these primary states.
I think tonight really underscores the way voters look at Trump continues to change, and he is becoming more acceptable in the eyes of more voters than ever before.
This is 2016, right? This was the fight. This was when Donald Trump was the outsider insurgent, saying all these establishment Republicans, guys with big names, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Governor Kasich, Governor Bush, Carly Fiorina of the business, Mike Huckabee had run in Iowa before, Chris Christie, who ran again this time. 144 years plus, I think was my math at the time, of elected experience in this 2016 field. Trump loses to Cruz here. Look, it's a pretty split night, right? There was a tug-of-war fight for whose Republican Party is this? Is it the establishments? Is it the insurgents guy? That was 8 years ago. It's Donald Trump's party, period.
Former president's coming out. He's going to maybe work the line a little bit. Let's listen in. Let's hear the crowd.
Jake, so we are watching a window. This is a window into democracy. We're watching the ballots being counted literally as we speak.
Each of the campaigns are there to watch this, right? To watch the count, to make sure it's done right. If anybody sees anything, they ask a question. You do it politely. You recount if you have to. That's the way democracy is supposed to work.
And there are representatives from each campaign at the table.
Right at the table, so that everybody's watching this transparently, as obviously the reporters are allowed to watch too. This is transparent democracy at work. One of the reasons you can get so frustrated at the distrust out there. What you just heard there was important, especially at a time when so many people have been told to doubt the integrity of elections, right? There you have, I don't know her name, that's a wonderful Republican official out in Potawatomi County saying, we're going to count the votes. You just heard us do it live. But that's not official because now we're going to double check the count. This is what happens everywhere, in Democratic precincts, in Republican precincts, in evenly drawn precincts, all across America on election nights, whether they're using a hand ballot like this and counting it right before your very eyes, doing the arithmetic we all learned in grammar school, or whether they're using machines, but they can also double check the machines as well. There are ways to do this. This, to me, as someone who's done this for 40 years, forgive me for editorializing, is the saddest part of our democracy, that people doubt this. You're watching it tonight. Republicans, this is a Republican process you're watching tonight. These are honest, hardworking Americans counting votes, doing it right. There's every reason to believe, because it has always been so, that this will continue all the way through the process. I love watching this because it's working the way it's supposed to work.